Hi, everyone. Welcome to the call. We want to welcome Kevin Thompson from the NSF to be talking about the NSF Campus Cyberinfrastructure program in South. So if you want to go ahead and get your slides shared, and I'll keep admitting people to the room then. So.
Okay, Ken, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sounds great.
And you can see my slides. I'll go into presentation mode here. Do you want me to just get started?
Yes, this looks great.
Okay. All right, well, happy Friday, everyone. I'm Kevin Thompson, Program Officer at NSF's Office of Advanced Cyber Infrastructure in the SISE Directorate. I'm going to dig right into the CC Star details here. Just a brief reminder that the National Science Foundation's mission is to promote the progress of science, advance national health, prosperity, and welfare, and to secure the national defense. That is a picture of our, it's I think at 5 years old, maybe 6 years old, new headquarters in Alexandria. That is slowly coming back to life with people returning to the office. This talk has 3 pieces. I will briefly go through the Campus Cyber Infrastructure program background that is called CC Star. I will spend some time walking through the last solicitation. I think my thinking there was it's been a while since I spoke to this audience on Jason's Friday afternoon webcasts. And then I'll end with a few slides on the current open solicitation on CC Star 22582. So working from literally the global view down, NSF's IRNC program is an example of global contributions towards R&E networking in reflection of scientific discovery as a global collaborative endeavor. This is a long-term trend. That trend will not go away. It will continue to increase. I was reminded of those trends earlier this week in South American astronomy meeting that included discussions of single instruments that are predicted to fill up 100 gig links this decade and require tens of thousands of CPUs and GPUs in analysis and processing globally. So here are a few pictures of that from an IRNC perspective. Institutions like Indiana University has a major role in leading these long-term efforts in helping to provide dedicated R&E networking capacity. FIU there at the bottom. Scenic and University of Hawaii play a role, University of Oregon plays a role. And given recent great news for the community, Internet 2 and ESNet have stepped up in a major way in contributing massive new capacity transatlantic. Here's a picture that I grabbed off of Internet 2's website. They just went through a major upgrade with basically the US R&E community's NREN. There are other NRENs, of course, ESNet, some others. So this is wonderful capacity that the community enjoys at the national level. And then one of my favorite slides that often isn't shown, but is another key layer of this fabric is the state and regional R&E network connectivity. This is a beautiful map done by Quilt, representing the Quilt members who are state and regional optical networks. And I think it does a nice job, especially of showing their interconnectivity. The vast majority of the institutions in the US are connected to Internet 2 and that global fabric through these state and regional R&E networks. So we have all of these dimensions, and they go down to the campus level. All are needed for end-to-end high-performance connectivity to drive scientific discovery forward in the 21st century. So that puts us at the campus level now. Back in 2011, there were a series of advisory committee for CI task force groups assembled by NSF and essentially certified to give documented recommendations to NSF in a series of reports. We took those reports seriously, certainly this one on campus bridging. And it's been, frankly, years since I've looked at this, not even sure that URL is still available, but it was full of recommendations like this one in suggesting that NSF create a new program connecting campuses at multi-gigabit speeds. In a sense, this had been done before. And for some veterans in the community, they might remember an NSF program in the mid-90s called HPNC, which in many cases funded initial campus connectivity to the predecessor of Internet 2 at the time, VBNS, and then Internet 2 in some of the later years. Well, that brings us to the campus CI program, CC Star. It really reflects NSF's belief of networking as a fundamental layer and underpinning of CI, driven by scientific research and education needs. Most of what I think is north of 370, that's an estimate, awards over the last 11 years, they've gone, most of them have gone towards network-centric activities, right? Especially in what's known as Area 1, and I'll show that in a moment, in allowing a campus to upgrade their external connectivity, their cross-campus connectivity, as I think you'll see in an example later. And in really most cases of those awards, re-architecting their campus border to prioritize scientific traffic along the lines of a concept which amazingly remains in place to this day, coined by and developed by ESNet, called the Science DMZ. These straightforward concepts are still in place. And I think reflect some solid architectural principles for the community and best practices in supporting frictionless scientific data flow, usually known data flows for science in and out of a campus. CC Star has several thematics. You'll see them. One of the most important thematics in CC Star is emphasizing a strong campus level partnership between the researchers, the educators, the students, and campus IT leadership. And to this day, I think if you look across who the principal investigators are, it is very common to see CIOs and leaders in the CIO structure, the IT leadership structure of a campus, leading a number of these projects. Okay, so let's dig into the last solicitation that's closed, 21528, before I get to the current one. And you can find this. These were the details. It had, for the first time in a CC Star solicitation, 2 deadlines. There are some other changes that we always change this solicitation, sometimes in very subtle ways. Sometimes we remove whole areas and add whole new areas. That was the case with 21528 in 2021, where cyber team went away. Very successful area in the program. Kind of in a sense, the last chapters in CC Star of what had begun as a CI engineer awards years ago. And the community can find those types of opportunities now in NSF's cyber training solicitation, which I believe is still open as of today, and I believe has a new area that area 3 that for me reads an awful lot like what we were after in cyber team. But these were the 5 areas with these 2 deadlines that came and passed in March 1 and October 11 of 2021. I don't have the award sizes in here, but let's see if my memory holds. I think Area 1 are awards up to $500,000. Area 2, regional networking awards. I think we raised that up to $1 million in 21-528. That has steadily increased in successive solicitations in establishing RNE network connectivity for multiple institutions targeting under-resourced institutions. Area 3 has been, along with Area 1, really the anchors of the program since 2012, and amazingly largely unchanged. That's really the applied R&D area of CC Star. My colleague, Deep Mehdi, in our sister, our other division in networking, the research division, CNS, Deep runs Area 3. I'll show some awards coming out of that area. In fact, I'll show you some awards coming out of all of these areas in a moment. Campus computing, Area 4, new as of, I think, 2019, and that continues at pace. And then we've introduced in the last couple of solicitations planning grant area, which has proven very popular, as you'll see. The CC Star criteria program-wide has also been largely unchanged. It's really an entrance criteria for a proposal to make a compelling case for the work that you're proposing as a needed capability required by science. And the solicitation text goes into how to express that, has gotten pretty specific in some of the areas and how to express that even in summary table form. Again, that partnership can be expressed in different ways in the proposal among the researchers and campus IT leadership, but we want to see campus IT leadership involved and supporting it. The campus CI plan, NSF feels, has been a very effective driver, a forcing function because it's required as a supplementary document to drive some strategic thinking on cyber infrastructure by campus leadership and the campus community. Some of that language in there, it's interesting in the current solicitation, I'll probably forget to mention this. I think we simplified some language in this current solicitation. And so some of those words may not be in the current solicitation, but in previous solicitations like 21-528, we got somewhat surgical over the years and what we wanted to see addressed in the CI plan. Of course, we're relevant, addressing appropriate cybersecurity issues and challenges is expected. And words have been in there across numbers of solicitations now encouraging student engagement. NSF feels these are great projects for REU-like activities, for example. So the first area, Area 1, really a core area of the program where the majority of the awards in past years had been made. The balance of that has shifted a bit, as you might see in a moment. But these are, again, science-driven improvements to campus network infrastructure, generally along the lines of external connectivity upgrades, campus redesign according to the Science DMZ approach, and intra-campus improvements. And in each award, I'm going to show you the awards that came out of the first deadline back in March. So I term these fiscal year 21. For NSF, this was a fiscal year 21 set of actions out of that March deadline. The October deadline was a new fiscal year. That's this fiscal year 22. And I won't be showing any of those. Not all of those have been made. If you really want to look hard, you could find them if you did NSF award searches. But I'm going to, I think, save those for maybe a future talk when all of those are done. Might have a few other words to say about it later. But these are the two awards out of Area 1. Reduction, we had, I think, 8 or more out of the 2020 solicitation in this area. Here's a example of one of those two. This was the UNC Charlotte award, a little quad chart. And here you see UNC Charlotte's project was really more about improving the campus network itself and establishing a 100 gig research network on campus. It's also, I'll just point out something. It's always interesting things in these projects that make them special and different. And, this one included security monitoring with 40 gigabit per second Zeek nodes. It's not the only such award in CC Star. There have been a number of others that have taken advantage of that programmable open source IDS platform that DOE and NSF through a series of awards helped to support in past years, and it's great to see the community leveraging services and capabilities like that platform. Area 2 grew out several years ago from really the recognized need that we had to go beyond Area 1 in the program to more effectively reach under-resourced institutions. And that concept evolved to what it looks like today, where this is a hard area to propose into because it requires coordination among a number of institutions with either a RON or a leadership institution leading the proposal. So, we expect to see proposals targeting multiple under-resourced institutions, likely in a localized or regional area. And the awards that came out of the March 1 deadline are listed right there. And these were awards up to $1 million. Carl's, I think, might have hit something like 8+ institutions, a set of campuses and community colleges that I think included the Claremont colleges. Let's see if I included the quad charts for the other two. Here's one of those 3 awards to learn. They almost bury the lead here, but in the lower right section, you see the 3 colleges and universities that are targeted with gigabit connectivity into Learn: Texarkana, Trinity Valley Community College, and Texas Lutheran. And the rest of this chart gives you, I think, a pretty good flavor of how that relationship will evolve and the types of benefits that go beyond simple connectivity, right? That Learn will have in a relationship now moving forward with those 3 under-resourced institutions. This one got cut off. I wanted to include this one. This is kind of a fun group. They've had multiple awards in this area specifically, and in this one, and you can kind of see in that map a rather colorful set of project names that have served to confuse me a little bit as they seem to grow in acronyms. That's fine. Each of those projects has added an expansion to OneNet in Oklahoma, and coincident with that, additional under-resourced institutions. And this award, their most recent one, addresses connectivity for Cameron University and Oklahoma City University. So these are great examples, right, of what we're after. And it allows the regionals to play a role with some of these services, including maybe in some cases a centralized set of services that you would normally see in a campus science DMZ. Okay, so area 3, network integration and applied innovation. Again, I crassly call this the kind of the applied R&D networking area that creates a great opportunity for applied research and development on campus networks. And that can be a challenging fit, right? But there's been a number of great awards in this program area over the last 10 years. A lot of SDN campus networking explorations supported in this area, especially in previous years. Some of that still goes on. A recent addition in this area has been an explicit encouragement to think about activities that leverage the evolving national experimental networking testbed called Fabric that is under construction. And DEEP made a set of awards in FY21. This is a healthy number of awards. I think they go up to $1 million. So I think most of these are closer to that number. I think the smalls were maybe up to 500,000. Not all of these made it up to close to that high number, but you get a bit of a feel of what's being funded here across the integration large area. In 2020, DEEP made even a larger number of awards in this area. And so I'll add in 2020 and 2021, very popular years for this area. Is great to see. Here is an example of one of those projects to Arizona State that is experimenting with a campus deployment of programmable IoT devices. And all open source based. That's a nice example of an Area 3 award that again just got underway I think last summer. That brings us to Area 4, campus computing. I think this got introduced in 2019. It is easily and pretty instantly it became the most popular area in the program. This is about promoting coordinated approaches in supporting scientific computing resources at the campus level. It has some challenging bars, as the other areas do. Here in having to define scientific and engineering projects and their computing needs, to be able to specify that and to map those needs to the computing resources that are being proposed, and that includes specifying software platforms and down to the scientific computing codes that would be expected to run. There's an interesting and somewhat unique element in this area on sharing 20% of that cluster and making that available as a shared resource external to the campus. And the solicitation has pointed to Open Science Grid as a great way to do that. It doesn't require OSG as the sharing fabric, but some of the awards have used a different platform, but actually closely related, called National Research Platform. What doesn't work so well is not talking about a nationally distributed compute fabric that you're tying into. It doesn't work so well when the sharing is described as just a couple of other campuses, and that can get problematic given the guidance in that solicitation. That solicitation is again closed, but this is Open Science Grid. It's also called the PATH project, the Partnership to Advance Throughput Computing. You can look at PATH as a project name as encompassing Open Science Grid, HT Condor, and something I'll get to a little later on a data fabric, and all of those sets of services, right? And collectively, this is a platform that supports a ton of scientific computing on a distributed basis. I just saw an email earlier today, just pick out one example, EHT doing 20 million hours on OSG in recent months. That's among a list of a couple hundred projects, but a nice one, and one that continues to evolve. Here are the awards from the first deadline. I will tell you that the second deadline had a very healthy response, and you're going to see out of this Area 4, out of 21, 5, 28, a much longer list added to this list. But these were the 5 awards in Area 4 that were made out of the March deadline. And here's one example. This is also kind of, again, each one is unique. This one is unique. This is, I think, the only award in Area 4 that has, in addition to tying into Open Science Grid, is doing something rather creative in integrating with Chameleon and a controller node and trying to provide an on-demand reconfigurable resource across a range of uses at FIU. So there's an example of an Area 4 award. Finally, Area 5, planning grants and CI research alignment. This was all about planning grants, and we broke it up into 2 pieces. What I might call a more normative campus level planning grant opportunity up to $100,000 that we would expect to help a campus do the work, the prep work, and the community engagement types of activities that could lead to a more effective proposal into one of the other areas in CC Star. And really, we were after areas 1, 2, and 4 in that. And then there were the larger awards up to $200,000 that we call CI research alignment proposals. And those open the door to maybe some deeper activities that might require more resources. Those deeper activities might include an expansion of beyond one campus in CI coordination planning. And I'm going to show you a great example of that in a second. Here are the awards to Area 5 from that first deadline. You see a couple of those were the larger kind of regional planning. A couple of these were more campus specific. And here's a great example, one that went to Don DeRusso and Arkansas on really a statewide, well, it's an 8+ institutions statewide in Arkansas in helping to develop a coordinated set of research CI plans across those campuses. So this is exactly the kind of thing that I think we were after in Area 5, and excited to hear about their developments on this, along with the other Area 5 proposals, awards, I should say. So in all, 23 awards from that first deadline in 2021, in March. I did not mention this earlier, but a big change in a great way for the program internally is a deeper structured partnership with EBSCO. I think there was a DCL that came out last year expressing that actually before the second deadline, and a webinar that they largely led. I think one of the many benefits to our EBSCO office becoming a partner in this program is a much more effective exposure for the opportunities in EBSCO jurisdictions. The community will see that. You'll see the results of this in the coming weeks, I think, with some future awards that are coming. Those decisions are still kind of continuing. So I'm going to stay away from talking about specific awards, but some have already been made on the second deadline, and more to come. I'm just going to add here, I think hopefully the solicitation has become a little more readable in recent years. We're starting to summarize the requirements. You'll see me show those in a moment in the current solicitation. But clearly, NSF in this program is after a thematic here of wanting to drive campus level sharing of resources. And I think that comes through in the current solicitation as well. This is a good time for me to answer a question that I've had put to me a few times since the new solicitation came out. And that is, another reason why I spent 20 minutes just stepping through 21.528 as the last solicitation is we're not abandoning that structure. This new solicitation that's out now certainly looks different. It has 2 new areas. It keeps the principles and the thematics from the previous solicitations, but the community can and should expect NSF to return to, I think, as we do every year, a reevaluation of the standard CC Star solicitation that does change year over year, by the way, under that structure I just went through. And we'll return to that and probably look to the likelihood of issuing another CC Star solicitation along a similar structure as 21.528. I want to briefly note what we find to be an important report that came out last fall. You Google this. Google this as NSF missing millions, maybe just missing millions. You should be able to download the PDF. This is worth reading. I think this was funded under an eager at NSF. This group of authors, I think, did tremendous work, and in this report, you'll see in-depth survey data from the under-resourced communities and institutions. You'll see priority challenges laid out in words and data among these communities in CI. And I think you'll read some pretty interesting ideas from this group in how we change that equation, right? And how we try to address these challenges that have, I think, been with our community for a long time, and maybe thinking in different ways on how to address those. Related to that, I want to make you aware of something that NSF is very excited about, and that is the Minority Serving Cyber Infrastructure Consortium, or MSCC. This got underway late last year, and Anna Hunziker of Internet 2 is the PI. You can read the objectives there. It has a team and set of partnerships that include a set of HBCUs. Tribal colleges and universities are also engaged in this, largely through the AHEC partnering role. And so I think this demo pilot CI Center of Excellence, we will see play an increasingly important coordinating role in helping to address the CI challenges in these communities moving forward. Okay. Finally, I've got some material on the current solicitation. I'm going to warn you, if you thought some of these previous slides were somewhat dry, these are going to be dry, these slides, and here's why. It's an open solicitation. To be fair to those who are maybe not participating or won't see this recording, I don't have any hidden Easter eggs in here or gems that are hidden in between the lines of the solicitation. Those don't exist anyway. So this is why you're about to see me really read off the text straight from the solicitation. Everything in these slides you can find word for word, at least in the text slides, in 22.582. And in there, it does replace 21.528. It's the next solicitation. It's a current solicitation. Proposals are due in a little over 2 months. Wow, time flies. These are 2 brand new areas that have not been seen before in CC Star. Program Area 1 addresses science-driven needs in data storage resources. We've never gone there explicitly, right? That has been supported in the context of a DTN in science DMZs, and you've seen recent solicitations have to put a cap on that. But now we've introduced in this solicitation an area that hits that directly and helps fund data storage resources at the campus level. That's up to $500,000 over up to 2 years. Program Area 2 is regional computing, addressing shared computational CI capacity needs at the regional level. And that is expected to address scientific research and education needs across multiple campuses. So starting with Area 1, data storage meant to support coordinated approaches in scientific storage and data management at the campus level. And here we're incentivizing resource sharing again. It's expected that campus-wide storage needs are addressed in the proposal, not specific only one science project or one department, but campus-wide. And there's some explicit words to that. We encourage in this program area proposals from under-resourced institutions. Preference will be given to proposals demonstrating a compelling need for access to data storage resources, especially institutions lacking necessary data storage resources. You may request funding for the acquisition of a shared high-performance network-connected data storage resource, either on campus or at a separate facility. There is some interesting words in here on how to share this data storage resource, pointing to a national shared data fabric called OSDF under the PATH project. And their website actually, I think, has a nicer map of this. It's an interactive map. You can kind of fool around with that map. You can get an OSDF specific version of that on their website. This is the Open Science Data Fabric, supporting a global namespace with remote access to files and storage, provided by a set of distributed origin points where you can originate data, public, private. You can control the sharing of that data. And it's supported by a distribution of caches, some of which are at POPs in Internet 2 and ESNet. And this is in operation. It has been in operation somewhat under the hood of OSG for a long time now, and has tens of millions of files that it routinely transfers on a regular basis. And you see some numbers there at the bottom. This is a copy paste right out of the summary of requirements out of Area 1 data storage. This is kind of the format that CC Star has gone to. It was easy to get lost in what we were requiring versus suggesting in the language. And so this is along the previous lines of the last solicitation and trying to summarize the requirements for you. It is definitely, if you're interested in proposing to this area, very much worth your time in walking through each of these. I will point out, I'll just point out a couple of them. You'll see some language in the solicitation in tying this into adherence to FAIR principles and equitable access, and pointing to a DCL that came out, I think, in 2019, and speaking to some issues of public data access and some approaches that are expected to be seen in the data management plan. As is becoming, I think, a norm on several of these areas, you have to include a summary table of the science drivers and their data storage environments. We expect to see open source software platforms being discussed, an open source based approach to monitoring, measurement, and management. That is not new as a thematic in CC Star. There's some words in there on requiring a sustainability plan. We want to understand how you're going to support these resources past the 2-year award. There's an interesting element in this one and the next area on, let's see, allowing for staff. It's not a requirement. It's not listed on this page actually, but we do allow for staff time on these proposals. There is the 20% sharing requirement, taking a page from the campus computing shared thematic. And again, we would expect to see this either placed on campus or in off-campus data center. And so you can, I'll refer you to the solicitation for a repeat of all of these requirements. The other new area is kind of a take on the regional networking, but making it a computing opportunity. And so this is promoting coordinated approaches in computing at the regional level. You do not have to be a RON to propose it. You can be an institution. You can lead a proposal. That's fine. The separator here is that you must address multi-campus computing needs in the proposal. You won't get funded. In fact, it might get returned for review if it's a single campus proposal. Staffing is available for up to 25% of the overall budget request in this area. As is a thematic across these areas, and I think speaks to the kind of the DNA of the program. We want to see how these resources are connected on campus. You know, you want to see a topology of that. Show us how it's connected, show us the speeds. This idea of a cluster as a shared resource intercampus, again, is kind of at the center of this. And beyond that, there remains the 20% shared requirement outside of your group of campuses. And the wording here is a little different from 21.528. Here, you know, again, we're pointing to path as not requiring it, but encouraging you to look hard at using that as the shared compute fabric here. There's an interesting element here on tying in monitoring and measurement of this system to track 4 of the access program. By the way, those awards I think were finally announced today. And so the track 4 award has been made, and this will be an award term and condition. There's no requirement for you to write to that in the given the solicitation text. This is more of a, you know, kind of a notification that for awards we consider for proposal, we plan on contacting you and talking to you about this and writing it into the terms and conditions of the award. Here is a copy and paste of the requirements for regional computing. Again, let me just pick out a couple of these. Yeah, I'm going to point this out because this is a challenging piece in the campus compute area 4 from 21.528, including a summary table of science drivers and their computing environments, right? Mapping what you're proposing back to these science drivers and the workflows, the codes they're expected to run, and using that, right, as a way to explain why you're proposing the configuration, the CPU, GPU mix, whatever that is, and justifying those choices. As with the other area, you must include itemized vendor quotes with the budget. If I don't see those, you're apt to get this returned without review. And that happens. Happens also, by the way, almost every year by somebody not including a campus CI plan. And in this area, the campus CI plan, you've actually got some flexibility in this area. You can make it a regional one. You can choose a campus. But you have a little flexibility. I refer you to the language in there, but you have to put something in for a campus CI plan on this one as well. Okay, so we're at quarter of. I will stop there. Again, all the words you saw for 22.582 on those slides, you should find word for word in 22.582 solicitation. And thank you for staying on and listening. And are there any questions or comments?
Yeah, there were a couple. Well, thank you. First off, there were a couple of questions in the chat. One, will you be sharing the slides?
Yes, I will be sharing the slides.
Okay, no problem. Someone posted in the missing millions full text link to that. There's a link to the Open Science Grid OSDF. On one of your slides, it said 420 terabytes or 420 petabytes. So
okay, so that was an aggregate amount of data that's been read and reread out of the smaller number of what you can consider the aggregate origin data. How's that? So that's more of a number kind of demonstrating the aggregate of data being thrown around across the data fabric.
Okay. And then Jen had shared the Access Awards link, but no other questions. Any other questions right now? There's one. Okay. Do you want to read that off, or do you want me to read it to you?
Is there the one from JC or a different one?
Yeah, it's the one. Correct.
Is there a connection between NSF OAC core? For example, would NSF OAC be suitable for applied innovation for campus networks? Okay, OAC does participate in the core solicitation, if that's what you're referring to. And that is really SCI's flagship conglomerate of SCI's research proposals into core. We do participate in that. And I'm happy, if you reach out to me on email, I'm happy to put you in contact with the program officers in OAC who run that. I think for the applied innovation, so for Area 3 and CC star, if and when that reappears, and it's still if, because the solicitations change, that is definitely a great opportunity for applied research in networking. But this is very much separate from basic research in networking. So there are some distinct differences there. And again, if we're able to repeat Area 3 in a future solicitation, I will not hesitate to put you in contact with Deep Medi. Let me do a self-correction on something I mentioned earlier, because I've got the solicitation text up on my own screen, and I may have said something wrong. Let me just look here on, I want to verify that we do have the staffing. Okay, I was correct. We do in fact make them, it's not a requirement, but this is a significant change in the program where we have, let's say we've been rather shy about wanting to support staff in supporting the resource, certainly in Area 4. And here we're allowing in both areas up to 25% of the budget to go towards staffing required to configure, operate, and support data management. That is a significant change in this program officer's opinion on. It's one of the significant kind of changes of thought that's in this solicitation. It's available to you.
Okay, one that came in that was private. Can you speak to the new directorate?
Well, it's up and running. A colleague and I were just talking to the head of that directorate an hour and a half ago, and there is a healthy, if you look at the FY23 budget request for TIP, that's the new directorate. It's a healthy number. Keep in mind we still don't have closure on exactly what down to the division level what FY22 is. So I've been, I spoke at some length at the CASC meeting. In fact, I think I laid out 5 slides given to me by TIP. We're excited about the futures of TIP. What I would say right now to the community on TIP is give TIP a little bit of time in the context of a not completely defined, fiscal year picture for the agency, right? And I think things like the POSE solicitation, right, on open source ecosystems is a great example of some things I think that you're going to see parts of NSF partner with TIP on. I can tell you that we in OAC have, I think, a bunch of cool ideas on how we can partner with TIP. So I'm excited thinking about it. I think the future is very bright there. And I think you're going to have to give TIP some months to fully evolve as we get into the next fiscal year. But again, as evidenced by things like the POSE solicitation, you will start seeing some things happen beyond the Convergence Accelerator, beyond the SBIR elements that they're inheriting to kind of help seed that directorate.
Okay. Were there any specifics on how it might impact networking or campus programs, or that was the other part of that question? Sorry.
I think it's all up for discussion.
Okay.
I will refrain from talking about details of some really cool discussions we're having with them. I'm actually gonna deflect that and say again how excited programmatically we are about EBSCO, the EBSCO office coming in as a more explicit partner to the program moving forward. I think that will have very meaningful impact in great ways for CC Start. I think that type of impact, I think, will be seen in the solicitation for the future solicitation that hopefully comes out by the end of the calendar year after this current one.
Okay. Marla had a question at 2:48. Do you see it there? Do you want me to read it off?
Let's see. I see one from, which one do you want me to read off? Drew's, Derek's, Marla's?
Marla's the first one.
Okay, the missing millions. NSF will need to get into the dirt to make a big difference in attracting the missing millions. We'll be seeing related activities and solicitations. I mean, clearly I would not be talking about it if I did not think the community would see actions taken by NSF in response to the material in that report. I'm not going to promise that we're going to react to every idea in there. That report was full of some great ideas, some of them way outside conventional thinking, and that's not a bad thing. So I would just say stay tuned, and again, I'll point back to MSCC as kind of maybe a first step in the direction of addressing some of the ideas in that report. Let's see, Derek asked a good question. Access measurements and metrics tie-in. Would you want to see CC Star regional compute in the XD mod? Well, that's a very specific question. I think I will answer that by saying that according to Tom Furlani, more than one campus cluster today uses OpenXD mod. And that does strike me as a straightforward way for an eventual awardee in regional computing to address that future award term and condition in having to work with Access Track 4. Drew, if Drew always has tough questions. Kevin, we have long needed a platform for building campus research, cybersecurity, CI that can be put into production right away. In a way, there's an opportunity to bridge the CC. Okay. Well, my partner in crime is actually on this Zoom, or he was, but I'm not going to call on him. That would be unfair. Rob Beverly, he leads the CC solicitation. I wanted to focus this on CC Star. I used a couple of Rob's slides in the CAST presentation a couple of weeks ago. That's an open solicitation, and for people on this Zoom that are interested in cybersecurity funding opportunities focused on improving security in scientific environments, you have a great opportunity open right now. That deadline, I think, might be the same day, June 27, on CC, the new CC. And in there, you'll see 3 areas. And one of them, Drew, as you probably already read, has some interesting things to say about test and evaluation activities. And I refer you to Rob Beverly and that open solicitation for now. And I would say, that we have ongoing dialogues on potential future activities in addressing these ongoing cybersecurity CI challenges. Another takeaway, if you read that Missing Millions report, is the clear priority on cybersecurity among a number of these institutions. And that's both, it's not just operational, it's also the educational opportunities, right? So I think there are a lot of opportunities, I think, available for us to look at in the months and years ahead in that space.
Okay, I want to be respectful of your time. Are you okay continuing with the rest of the questions, or do you have to go?
Well, let's, you want to cut it off at 3? I'll just keep rolling through these. According to my clock, we got a couple more minutes. I'll just keep rolling through these. These are recognizable names. I can't wait to read some of these because they're not going to be easy questions. Here's one from Mariam. Let's see, ESNet, we've been developing open source network monitoring tools. How can we advertise these to NSF so that we can I think that's, okay, great question. I think immediately, I'm just going to give you trigger responses to this. I think Fabric, ESNet is a piece of the Fabric project, correct? I have a hard time separating ESNet from the Fabric project, including in this area, as a matter of fact. So I would have to imagine that, especially in regards to the last solicitation, where Area 3 talks to 21528, that is a clear thread in on CC Star. I think Deep's solicitation on internet measurement research, I have been so busy this last few months, I've lost track of deadlines. I think that deadline has passed. So, but that is a solicitation, I think, that if it gets repeated, if there's another solicitation on IMR, to me, that's another potential opportunity. From a community standpoint, Miriam, I'm hoping ESNet has opportunities to talk about this at what we can all hope to be in-person events later this year, right? Whether it's the Internet 2 meeting, maybe TNC, maybe SC. I think the list goes on. Scenic annual meeting. So I think that's how I'll answer that. Well, maybe I've got time for one more. Do you expect to see similar CI plans, similar to previous proposals? Do you expect changes? In this current solicitation, I removed the surgical wording on the campus CI plan. We wanted to make this a little more simple to read because there were 2 new areas and we wanted the community to focus on that. I think ideally NSF wants institutions who have pre-existing campus CI plans, if they're coming in with a proposal, to revisit that plan, right? Dust it off. What has changed? and kind of look at those CI plans as a living, breathing document. That'd be the ideal. Look, I know we're all busy, but you know, that's how I think in an ideal world, that's how I would like to see the community react. Okay, it's 3 o'clock. Any other questions I didn't answer? My apologies. Please shoot me an email. Anyone with a proposal idea, you're welcome to contact me. I'll make it a priority to speak with potential proposers between now and June 27th, and welcome your ideas. And with that, I'll end and wish everyone a healthy weekend.
All right, thank you. I'll stop the recording and we'll send the updates out and the link later in an email. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.